there, and thanks for listening to the Adulting is Easy podcast, where we make adulting easier by making money easier. This is your host, Lauren, and I'm joined today by Danny, a recovering W-2 nerd with a passion for helping high earners reach financial independence. At age 26, he founded an e-commerce company and built it to $2 million per year in revenue, all while keeping his day job. He sold that business in 2022 and diversified across more than a dozen commercial real estate syndications as a limited partner. He's now building wealth squared and sharing advanced strategies to grow your side hustle, invest in tax-advantaged commercial real estate, and build a diversified cash flowing portfolio. Thanks for joining me, Danny.
Hey, Lauren, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. But let's talk about property management software that's a little bit different. First of all, software doesn't really solve all of your problems, but that's why Hemlane's Property Management provides 24/7 repair coordination. That's right. You use your own service professionals or tap into their licensed network. Second, many of you are investing out of state. Hemlane connects you with licensed leasing agents and other tenant placement services to help you find and place a tenant. And third, Hemlane is ranked number 1 by Gartner with 4.8 out of 5-star reviews. So they're legit. Visit www.hemlane.com and don't forget to tell Hemlane that you heard about them through Adulting is Easy. Hemlane will dramatically improve your property management. Our goal for today is to make adulting easier for listeners by discussing a personal finance topic, since managing money is a big part of adulting. So today, Danny, you and I are going to talk about retiring from the 9 to 5. So you retired like about a year ago now?
Yeah, I guess September of 2022, I quote unquote retired. I mean, I personally don't love the phrase retirement. I'm still working an equal amount of hours, if not more. I'm just doing it on my time and working on the things that excite me. So that's my version of an early retirement.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're dead on there. I don't think there is a great word for it, transitioning or what have you. I use retirement because of the financial independence retire early movement. And of
Yeah.
course, that to me, that means becoming work optional and then just doing whatever you want, changing directions. You can volunteer, you could vacation, you could change career paths and things like that, whatever that is. But I'm using retire kind of loosely, but basically you were able to leave your W-2 job at what, in your late 20s?
Yeah, late 20s on the eve of 30. I recently passed the 3-decade mark. So I'm no longer in my 20s, but yes, I was able to get there quite early and very grateful for how it all worked out for my side of things.
When you started the e-commerce company, did you mean to like leave your 9 to 5, sell it, all of that?
You know, what actually inspired me in the beginning was, I want to have a family, a larger family. And, my wife was a practicing lawyer at the time and working a lot. I was working a lot. And when I had a vision for, what I wanted my future to be, I really wanted her to have more flexibility at the time. And so I actually started the side hustle, which was an Amazon FBA e-commerce business, with the intention of passing it on to her and allowing her to basically run it in a more flexible way. And we tried that. We learned the difficulties of working husband and wife on a business. And so flash forward 5 years and it turned into something that I ended up kind of continuing to run with. And when we had an opportunity to exit and to sell and create a kind of a bulk income stream that we knew would, change our life, we took advantage of it.
Yes, I am well aware of what it's like to work with my husband since we own our rental properties together. It's different, and we have to kind of work constantly to communicate properly when we're in business mode and when we're in relationship mode. But it's not easy, and I would look forward to someday taking all of it on myself when I leave my job, I think.
Yeah, it is not easy, and we had to put up some clear boundaries. I mean, it was funny because we'd be right next to each other and I'd want to ask for something, but I knew it would just spiral. So I would literally send an email on my phone to her email saying something. And then, every Monday at 2, I think we had an hour conversation and we tried to keep everything in that time box. And those boundaries helped a lot once we figured them out.
Yeah, that's huge. I tell my husband, just text me. I know you're across the hall, but don't just walk in the middle of the day and drop something on me because I'm going to start seeing you and thinking, oh my God, there's a problem every time.
100%. And if we ever had dinners and date nights and whatnot, yeah, we had a strict no business policy that we had to adhere to because it was too easy to go down that slope. And before you knew it, it was just another business conversation.
So was there an in-between time, right? Of course, you're building the e-commerce business, you're keeping your 9 to 5, and then eventually you left your 9 to 5 and sold the e-commerce business. Was there an in-between time where you sort of knew what your goal was, and how did you stay motivated during that time?
Yeah, it was always, there was always a kind of a number that I had in the back of my head, and I sort of worked backwards from there. Um, and in that in between period, there were moments where I thought about leaving my 9 to 5, and I thought to myself, hey, if I just double the amount of time I'm able to spend on this venture, I could maybe get there much quicker. And in hindsight, I'm actually glad I didn't do that. I think even though maybe it might have taken slightly longer, I was able to, I think, just be more focused and efficient when I did work on my side hustle because it was always with a very strict time box of 3 to 4 hours every couple of days. And really, I had to kind of get it all done within about 10 to 15 hours a week, which really stretched me to think creatively about what needed to get done and how I was going to do that most efficiently. So I'm glad I didn't leave, and I definitely had those moments where I thought about it, but waited until we ultimately sold the business to transition.
That's a really interesting thought where, and I think this is the idea behind the 4-day work week, right?
Yeah.
Where the idea is if we gave everybody instead of 5 days, 4 days, would they sort of get the same amount of stuff done? And I tend to think the answer is yes. So that's interesting that when you put your side hustle in this 10 to 15 hour box, it actually made you more efficient at it. So that makes a lot of sense to me. But how did you stay motivated to do that? I mean, you just said what, it was 5 years? That's a long time. How do you stay motivated for that long?
Yeah, it was a long time. Candidly, the business was growing and that helped. So when you see sales moving in the right direction and you see, we'd have product ideas, we'd work hard for 4 to 5 months to design the product, source the product, package it, get it into Amazon, a lot of legwork up front. And so when you see it start to sell and you get inbound messages from customers about how much they love your products or they're tagging you on Instagram or whatever kind of feedback loop that you have in place, that for us was sort of the motivation to keep us going.
Do you recommend Amazon FBA as a side hustle?
I do not. Probably a slightly different answer than you thought, but no, actually, I don't for a lot of people. I do for some, and in a very narrow circumstance, when you go into it eyes wide open, I think it might make sense. But I think a lot of people assume Amazon FBA is very easy, very passive. A lot of things that aren't real. Amazon FBA is a lot of operations. You have to manage your suppliers, you have to manage graphic designers, you have to manage supply chain. There's a lot of logistics behind it. And it's getting more and more competitive every single
Right.
year. I mean, there's just so many people now who have done it, and they've done it to a pretty solid level. So I think it's very, very competitive. And then economically, an Amazon business is very capitally heavy, meaning you have to put a lot of cash into the business upfront to buy the inventory, to store your inventory, all of that. And so it's not one of those start it and then enjoy $5,000 a month of truly passive income. It's probably going to be at least a 10 to 15 hour a week commitment and likely more in the beginning. And you're going to be reinvesting a lot of your profit into more inventory. And so I tell people this often, but we almost didn't pull a dollar out of the business for 4 years until our exit. And that was a big reason for wanting to sell in the first place.
Can you tell everybody what FBA is? I don't think we said it.
Yeah, I probably should start there. So Amazon FBA is probably a subset of e-commerce. And e-commerce, I think most will know that, but that's selling physical goods over the internet. And Amazon FBA stands for Fulfilled by Amazon. So it's a very unique program where you, as a third-party merchant, can ship Amazon inventory sell it through their marketplace, and they will deliver that inventory to the customer. So it's a great business for a quote unquote side hustler because you don't need a huge team to do a lot of the work. But I think there are some real drawbacks that I talk about on the other side of it all.
Yeah, interesting. It's not the answer that I thought you would say, but that's why I asked the questions. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not asking you questions I only know the answer to, right? I'm just interviewing you.
No, yeah, I appreciate it. I'm still buying internet businesses and I still love the ability to work remotely. For me, Amazon and FBA, that model has some major drawbacks.
So leaving your 9 to 5, I think for a lot of people, myself included, is on this like pedestal. And I think we have this idea in our heads of what it's like. Can you talk through expectations versus reality and what that's been like since September 2022?
That's a great question. It's a lot different so far than I think folks think it is. So at least for me, I'm someone who's kind of always pushing for the next challenge or the next venture, so to speak. And so in the beginning, when I didn't really know what I was going to be spending my time on, I almost felt more anxiety and more anxiousness about what am I going to do with my days and how am I going to spend my time. And then, over time, you start to kind of figure out, you get your feet under you. You're like, hey, this is what I'm going to spend my time on. But finding that community daily is really, really challenging. And I enjoy these items, right, where I'm getting to talk to somebody, even if it's over Zoom, it still feels, somewhat personal. And when you do, leave your 9 to 5 and you no longer have coworkers and bosses, et cetera, you have a lot less day-to-day interaction with people. And I think a lot of folks underappreciate how much meaning that provides to their life.
Yeah, this idea of you wake up and there's not a structure to your day is kind of interesting to me. And then, yeah, like the human interaction, like you said, even though I work remotely for my job, I'm still talking to people all day throughout the day. And there's a lot of celebrating each other's wins and commiserating and all of those things. So I could see that that would be kind of weird to just have that. There's almost like a vacuum there when that's gone.
Totally, totally. I mean, and on the other side of the positives, right, I do have that flexibility, right? My daughter's turned 8 months yesterday,
Mm.
and I've got to be really involved with the first 8 months of her life and go to all the doctor appointments at 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. on a Tuesday and stuff that would have been harder with the 9 to 5. So there, there are very much positives, but there's a few cons as well.
So, what exactly are you doing now? What is Wealth Squared?
So as I kind of went through my journey of starting, I didn't talk about this, but I actually started my career in investment banking out of undergraduate. So I worked a lot,
Hmm.
but I had a really good training, kind of a good foundation for my career, and then built a side hustle and throughout have been actively investing in real estate as well. I started to just kind of accumulate a lot of knowledge that I often shared with my friends and family. And I found that I really enjoyed um, taking complex financial concepts and trying to really, really distill them into very simple sound bites that actually matter for people. And I noticed that there's a lot of people who do that for pretty basic personal finance, but for high earners or folks who, um, have done well in their day jobs or in their careers, there's not as many good resources out there for that audience. And so, Well Squared is my attempt at trying to serve that audience with, again, very simple but useful personal finance content that would appeal to the higher income demographic.
Nice, nice. And that you paint such a nice picture of, you what your why is. And that's what all of us need to kind of remember when we are hurtling towards this goal of leaving our 9 to 5s, which I think a lot of us have that goal, that we need to remember what our why is and what we're searching for and what we really want out of things. Can you talk a little bit though about the real estate and how that's helping with this dream now?
Yeah, well, I think, and going back to your statement about the why, right? Like my why and what's kind of motivated me is the control of my time, and the ability, like I mentioned before, to go to my daughter's doctor appointments Tuesday at 11. Um, and so to be able to have that kind of control and freedom, I do think that having some form of income, predictable, passive income to cover your basic needs and life expenses, that's kind of the first step. And so real estate has just been, to me, a really great complement to a lot of the business ventures that I've built, both my day job and also some of these side hustles. I think real estate is a lot less volatile. It produces cash flow. It's amazing tax wise. And I talk a lot about tax strategies that we've employed. And so, yeah, it's just my preferred asset class. I don't have all of my wealth in real estate, but I certainly have more than 50% of it.
Nice. Okay. Same here. So a lot of times what we hear is work your 9 to 5 job, then take your side hustle as to your full-time thing, right?
Mhm.
And that side hustle, maybe like a side hustle like Amazon, fulfilled by Amazon, like you were talking about, or real estate, you take that as your full-time thing. What you did was you took your side hustle, you sold that, and you've now transitioned to something else completely. And the real estate is sort of like still a side thing, which I think is kind of interesting. It's a little bit different model than I think we normally talk about, and different than anybody I've had on, actually.
Yeah. So the way I looked at it is when we were building our side business, I had probably 80 to 90% of my net worth or wealth tied up in a single asset. I don't
Mm,
think people often think of it that way, but that's the reality. If you have
right.
a business that's cash flowing a certain amount of money, it's worth something to someone that you can sell it to. And when I realized that, and when someone placed a strong valuation on that cash flow, I thought, well, hey, why don't I take this volatile, semi-risky asset and liquidate it, and then diversify into less risky, more stable, cash flowing real estate deals. Um, and so that's what we did. And I obviously kept some of the capital to start different ventures. We actually, a business partner and I bought a SaaS business about 6 months ago as well. And so we are still actively buying and trying to build businesses. But I felt like I was just over concentrated, right, with my side hustle, and it felt like it made more sense to buy less risky real estate.
Right. Makes sense. I mean, even we've seen like Bezos, Bezos do that, and Elon Musk has done that, right? It makes sense when you're in your wealth accumulation phase. Maybe you'll have an inordinate amount of your net worth in certain different areas. We have noticed that too. Our goal was always 50% real estate, and over time we've slowly been kind of getting more and more in the real estate side of things, because of course that's leverage and the appreciation's been great. And so just kind of naturally
Yep.
it's taken the stocks and then the equity we have in my husband's engineering firm, and it's outweighed that. So we are actively trying to balance things back out in the other direction. So I think that's really good advice for people. But I think it's also interesting, diversification in and of itself is this awesome idea, right? Where if
Yeah.
real estate goes down, but you still have the stocks, and their whole portfolio doesn't go down. But who did I just say? Bezos, Elon Musk, the richest guys in the world, some of them, they're not that diversified, right? So, and I've seen that with people, with business owners, where they have a lot of their net worth in one thing, and then they kind of diversify later and take less risks later. So it just really serves the purpose to tell everybody, personal finance really is personal. And that's why we do this. That's why I wanted to share your story with everybody today.
Yeah, no, I love that. And for me, the way I've thought about, right, I just having turned 30, now is when I take bigger bets. And I think that that's something that I try to remind folks as well, that we have a long career, we all have long lives. Like, the path I took was just what I felt was the most efficient way to get to a point where I controlled my time. And now it's more about trying to create those 10x, 100x bets, and figuring out where my time is best served to do that. Um, while also balancing the other things in life, because life is not all about how much money we earn and what our net worth is. And so, um, I think, yeah, like you said, personal finance is very personal, and every individual might approach it a little differently.
What advice do you have for people that are balancing the 9 to 5 and side hustle right now and feel like they're in a precarious spot?
That's a good question, and it's difficult. We had tough weeks, tough days, and I think the best thing that I can say is that don't try to do too much at any one time in any one day, and time is on your side in some ways. And if it's going to take an extra week or a couple weeks to get something done, don't let that cause you unnecessary anxiety. For us, what really helped is I always kind of measured progress in quarterly increments. I still do. I don't really get caught up week to week and day to day with everything, but once a quarter, I have a meeting where I kind of review how am I progressing against my goals, how are things moving, and those looking at things in that cadence has really helped with my kind of anxiety to just know, hey, I'm making progress. Maybe it's not as much as I want, but I'm moving closer and closer to the target. So hopefully that helps.
That's a great mindset to have. And we talk about this a lot. We talked about this a lot when we did our live spaces with my group, my team, if you will. Compare yourself to your past self. Don't compare yourself to other people. And I think a lot of people, I noticed this with diets, especially even in myself, right? Where you have like one bad day or you miss one milestone and you give up, and you can't do that, right? Progress is a good thing and moving in the right direction is good. And, you don't want to weigh yourself every day. You don't want to look at your net worth every day. You don't want to evaluate your goals every day, right? Put some time in between. And I think you'll see that you're moving in the right direction.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, didn't want to look at your net worth every day in 2022, that's for sure. But I think the quarterly increment helps a lot, and it's still, like I said, something that I practice to this day.
Yeah, I like that. I think we do about twice a year, but it's hard with real estate and businesses. It's hard to know what those values even are. So I don't know how much stock to put in those net worth updates anymore. But so, Danny, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I appreciate you commenting on Well Squared, and frankly, I really haven't done these kind of podcasts or posted much on social media or any of it. I think my very first post was on Twitter in January, and I've enjoyed that platform, and it's where I'm spending most of my time. So yeah, I'm just here to kind of share and connect with people, and hopefully a little bit of my wisdom can help folks in your network and others to keep at it, and continue to work on their side hustle and hopefully escape the 9 to 5 one of these days.
Absolutely. So you mentioned you're on Twitter. What's your handle there, and where else can they find you?
At it's Danny _ V, I believe is the handle. Wealth to the number 2.com is where you can find more information about me. And yeah, my email and Twitter DMs are always open to connect.
Thanks for that. And I'll put that in the show notes, as well as the link to sign up for your newsletter. And everybody, you can follow me on Twitter at Adulting is Easy. I'm on YouTube at Adulting is Easy. I'm on Instagram at Adulting is Easy Real. You can email me at realadultingiseasy@gmail.com. If you liked this episode, you may also like episode 154, Fire Off the Grid with Steve Adcock, or episode 128, Retiring Your Husband with Amazon FBA. You might find that to be interesting. Thanks again for listening, everybody. And thanks for bearing with me through this little cold that I've got. Hopefully, Danny and I have made adulting a little easier for you.